If you're at all interested in real estate and haven't been living under a rock for the past several months, then you're probably aware that the National Association of Realtors was in a legal battle with some attorneys and ended up agreeing to a settlement that makes some changes to the way that real estate professionals and real estate transactions will kind of go down from this point forward. But I've done a ton of research about this topic, and I've seen a lot of things from both sides of the aisle. And it actually turns out that there's a lot of misleading information in the market regarding this topic. And what I want to do is kind of break it all down for you, help you understand what actually did change, and help you understand that there's not as many changes as is being portrayed in the media as it relates to how things will go from August 2024 and moving forward. So we'll start out with what exactly are the changes? Well, there's not as many changes as you might think. Like I said, the media seems to portray it as if negotiation for sales commission was always fixed, and sellers and buyers weren't permitted to negotiate real estate commissions, which was never true. There has always been the ability to negotiate real estate sales commission, and this new settlement, it doesn't enable the consumer for the first time to be able to negotiate sales commissions. They always could. And as a matter of fact, the only thing that's really changed as it relates to the sales commission is that now we're no longer permitted to put it in the MLS. So, traditionally speaking, the listing agent, when they publish a listing in the MLS, would stipulate how the sales commissions would be split, paid by the seller. The only difference is that now we will no longer be doing that. So the two changes are, and the first one is, and I think this is a lot bigger than the prohibition of advertising sales commission splits in the MLS, and that is now if you are a buyer, you have to sign an exclusive buyer brokering agreement with an agent before you tour a house or any home. So what this means is that gone are the days that you could just select your real estate agent and just move forward with what we call an implied agreement or an implied contract, basically saying, Kev, you're my agent. That's just known. You go ahead, represent me, but we don't need any contract in place. Now, in order to tour a home in person, you must select your agent and have a formal contract with your agent before seeing any houses. To me, this is way bigger than not having a visible sales commission split in the multiple listing service. This is the only real change that I think is going to move the needle a little bit as it relates to how real estate buyers and real estate professionals kind of conduct and formulate relationships. So that's the first change. And of course, the second change is that now sales commissions simply will not be able to stipulate how they're split in the multiple listing service. So how does this impact the buyer? What does the buyer need to know? So the first one is that now you need to know and understand that as a buyer, you need to have a formal exclusive buyer brokering agreement with whichever agent you decide to select and hire as your agent. This formalizes the relationship and kind of stipulates and lays out all of the responsibilities and services that you will expect to receive from your buyer's agent. The second is that now most buyers, and for me, this is the first thing that I teach every buyer client that I represent, is how I am compensated. Well, now every agent will have to do that. It'll have to be in writing that how they are being paid and kind of what that entire structure looks like. For me, this isn't going to change anything. I have done this my entire career. It's one of the very first things that I teach every buyer client that I represent, and I know a lot of agents do it this way. So again, this is not really changing a lot as it relates to how your buyer's agent is going to conduct that front end of the
the home buying process for most buyers, especially first-time home buyers. So how's it going to affect sellers? Again, not very much. What I expect to still be the standard of operations in the real estate industry is that the seller will continue to compensate buyer's agents in exchange for buyer's agents matching a buyer with their house and procuring an advantageous and attractive offer to them. I believe that sellers are going to continue like they always have, needing to offer this for one, to allow for buyers to have enough buying power to offer them great offers on their house, but also to incentivize agents and buyers to be attracted to their listing over their competitors' listings, which are almost always going to have some kind of compensation offering to the buyer's agents. So again, I don't expect very much to change, and sales commissions are going to be negotiable between the seller and the agents like they always have. The only real difference is that now that agreement won't be broadcasted into the multiple listing service. Again, that's the only change. Another thing is that you could probably expect that sales commission negotiations be a bit more direct, and kind of handled throughout the home purchasing process rather than just agreed to, stipulated at the beginning, and it's just kind of known throughout the entire process before a buyer even comes to the table. So I do expect that in the future we're going to see a little bit more of the sales commissions between listing agent and buyer's agents coming into play in the actual negotiation of the sale of most houses. And the last thing that impacts sellers is that, again, now these buyers are going to have exclusive buyer brokering agreements between their agents and themselves. And this is going to tie the buyers to their agents more tightly, and is going to give not only the buyers, but I believe the agents as well, some security in making sure that their buyer's agent is going to be compensated, because buyers are not, in most cases, not going to be able to compensate their buyer's agent directly. So they are going to be most attracted to the listings that are offering compensation to their representation, rather than listings that are going to make them have to pay their agent directly. So again, if sellers are not offering this compensation to the buyer's agents, it is going to make those listings much less appealing and much less attractive to the buyers in the market. So that's another thing that sellers moving forward should probably keep in mind. So some tips and things that I am telling my buyer clients moving forward is, the first thing is understand what that exclusive buyer brokering agreement entails. It's going to be different from from one market to another. So I would say, ask your agent. If your agent's not willing to go through the exclusive buyer brokering agreement with you in some detail, if you have questions, that would be a major red flag to me. But ask your agent, explain to me exactly, what does this buyer brokering agreement entail? What am I agreeing to? What are your duties? What can I expect from you in terms of services in exchange for me making this hiring decision? The second thing is make sure that you know what you're paying for. Know if you're paying for a flat fee service, which I do expect some brokers to offer, just straight hourly fees or something to that nature. But I do believe that more than likely compensation structures will stay pretty similar to what they are, be a percentage of the negotiated sales price, and for most full service real estate agents. But make sure that you know, am I going to be invoiced for hourly for my agent's efforts, or is my agent paid a sales commission or paid by performance? There's no right or wrong answers. Just make sure that you know exactly what it is that you're selecting as it relates to hiring your buyer's agent. Make sure that you know exactly what is in that exclusive buyer brokering agreement. And now more than ever, it is critically important that, for one, you hire a buyer's agent first, which has always been what I've taught all of my clients. The first thing you do is hire your buyer's agent. The second thing is that I think gone are going to be the days where just taking a chance on a new agent that doesn't have a lot of experience. I think that is going to be a lot less common, because those agents are going to have a slightly lower value
value proposition to the buyers. And I believe that competing for buyer business as a real estate agent is going to be more competitive now, and is going to feel very similar to the way that we compete for listings, traditionally speaking, where it is a very different value proposition to the consumer. So those are the strategies and things that I am teaching my buyer clients right now as we move forward. My seller clients, what I'm talking to them about is to get ready for a slightly different negotiation than what has been traditional. Again, I do believe that sales commission negotiations and things, the ways that agents negotiate against each other, is going to slightly change a little bit and probably come a little bit more direct. So just make sure that you understand that going in. There's nothing wrong with this. Again, this is sort of why the National Association of Realtors believed that this was in everybody's best interest. So get ready for some more direct negotiations as it relates to sales commission in your real estate transaction. And also, as always, smart pricing, smart marketing, smart presentation is going to be critical. You are still going to be competing for the best buyers, competing for the best offers. So don't skip out on this step. And possibly now more than ever, the way that you present your listing into the market and the value propositions that you offer into the market to the buyers and buyers agents is going to be very, very important. So I don't think a lot is going to change with this, but make sure that you don't lose focus of this side of the real estate transaction as well. The long-term implications that I believe are going to come from this is that the relationship between the buyer and the buyer agent is going to become very, very important. And more than ever, the hiring decision, the decision of who you hire to be your buyer's agent, is going to be more and more important. So my best advice would be to interview more than one agent, just like a seller would interview more than one agent in most cases. And make sure that you're asking a lot of questions. Select an agent that is going to be very upfront, teach you what you need to know. I've built my entire career with a mantra, and my entire motive of operations is to educate my clients. That I believe is the best way for a buyer's agent to represent a buyer's client, is to educate them, display your expertise as a buyer's agent, and make sure that when you hire a buyer's agent, that agent knows exactly what they're talking about and exactly what they're doing. This is going to be more important than ever. And moving forward, there's going to be a lot more transparency, I believe, on the front end. I think eventually it'll just become a moot point and we won't talk about it nearly as much. But I believe that the standard will be the same responsibilities. The truth of the matter is that buyers are feeling more pressure than ever right now in the market. It started out with inflation and premiums for houses. Then came the interest rates to crush down the demand, and now this is just putting more pressure on buyers. So I do believe that in most cases, sellers are still going to need to have the same responsibilities. Otherwise, they're just going to alienate and price out buyers and make it so it is impossible for buyers to purchase their house, let alone purchase their house at a premium. So I don't believe that a lot is going to change. I know that all of the real estate critics out there on the internet that are trying to blast real estate agents, this is just the truth of the matter, and just the reality of the economic conditions and the situation, and what it's truly like to be a buyer in 2024 and beyond. In the current economy. So in the future, as we move on, for buyers, now more than ever, information is going to be critical. The buyers who are best represented are going to be the buyers that have the most information, the most knowledge, and the buyers who make the best buyer agent hiring decision. For sellers, make sure that you're going into the process understanding that there's going to be a lot more transparency as it relates to sales commissions, again, at least on the front end. And so don't be surprised if these type of things come up in negotiations. You got to be flexible. You got to be willing to kind of shake and move on the fly. And you guys are still going to see great offers because demand is still exceeding the supply. It's still a seller's market. There's nothing to worry about for sellers or for buyers, in my opinion. The final thing is to understand that also these are all new concepts. And even though, again, most things won't necessarily change in any profound way in practice, as these changes are implemented, I'm sure there's going to be some bugs to work out, some different things that are going to need to be changed and revised. So just kind of stay up to date. Make sure that your agent is keeping you up to date on any different changes in the regulations, rules, bylaws of the National Association of Realtors or the local associations that are wherever you live. So just make sure you're staying up to date if you plan to sell your house in the near future. So if you like this video, please give it a like and a share. And as always, thanks for watching.